Welcome to the Beyond Vision podcast, where we focus on the human side of advanced eye care. Join us in exploring the way we approach our collective pursuit of excellence. In each episode, we'll uncover the inspiring stories of how our vision, mission, and core values shape the way we love and care for each other and our patients. Hear from our passionate team and discover what sets Vance Thompson Vision apart in the world of advanced eye care.
Hi, I'm Sara Dannen, guest host today of Vance Thompson Vision Beyond Vision podcast. This podcast is aimed to show that at Vance Thompson Vision, we are more than just about vision, and we love to celebrate those little facts. For those of you tuning in that do want to learn more about vision, we do have a companion podcast called Advanced Patient Care. Tune into that podcast to learn all things advanced vision technology and procedures. Showing that we are truly more about vision is my guest today, Mark Scharnberg. Mark plays a vital role at Vance Thompson Vision. He is our Chief Financial Officer, and he's been here for almost 2 years now. Can you believe it?
No, it's flown by.
Time flies when you're having fun. Well, Mark is also a husband, father, and an avid runner, which we'll hear more about later. But Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell the audience why we're here today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I am originally from a small town in northwest Iowa. Grew up on a farm, so come with farming roots. I'm married. Angel is my wife, and we have 2 kids. Eloise is age 11, and Everett is age 9.
Wow. So since you kind of have that finance and accounting background, to keep this podcast and this talk a little comfortable, I thought we would kind of focus on numbers, but probably not the numbers that you're used to by way of balance sheets and spreadsheets and EBITDA. We're going to talk about running numbers because we're eventually going to get to Mark's latest accomplishment, which was running the Leadville 100. But before we get to there, we're going to start at the very beginning. So let's start at 1. Do you remember your first race, or how did you get involved in running?
I think I was talking with my mom the other weekend about this, and I think my first race, my dad and mom would have us race around our house, and I'm the youngest of 4, so I have an older sister, 2 older sisters, and an older brother, and at the time I was much younger, or I should say I was the youngest, age 5, probably older sister was 9, so I was always last. That was the earliest races I remember. And then beyond that, little middle school and elementary school track meets.
So moving through the numbers, when you think of numbers and running, you think of half 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. What was your first real big race that you remember?
Yeah, first real big race was the Twin Cities Marathon in 2004. Ran it with a close friend. We had recently been out of college, and we're both a little burnt out from running, and we're just like, hey, we need to get our first marathon underneath our belt. So Twin Cities in October of 2004. So yeah, 20 years ago, hard to believe.
And during that first race, did you find that runner's high, that adrenaline that everybody says you get when you run those races?
Matt Genrich was the friend, and he'll probably come into our discussion later. He's the head coach at Harrisburg cross country. Anyways, Matt and I were training separate, and we wanted to run under 3 hours, which for those who may not know, it's about like 650 per mile pace, 655. And we went through the first 4 miles in 24 minutes. And that was clearly way faster than we had planned. And I remember not being very nice to Matt because he was in better shape than me. So the runner's high happened early, and cramping happened after Summit Hill. So it was a good first experience.
So marathon, that's 26.2 miles. We're on our way to 100. So talking numbers, what was the next race? Was it another 26.2? Did you jump straight to 100? Where do we go after that first marathon?
And then after a week or so, or maybe not even that long, then you're like, yeah, I could probably do that again. But it had been a number of years until I'd done my second marathon, and I kind of got an itch later in my 20s and early 30s to run competitive again. So I went through a number of probably like 2 years where I really tried to get in shape, compete, win local races. And then life happened where got married and kids and spent some time just focused on that. And there was just something kind of nudging me in around the COVID time. Is there something more that I should give a shot for? And in March of 21, my friend Matt, who had shared earlier, brought up a race that was local, just 20 miles away down in Larchwood. And it was a 100-mile race. And I said, what the heck? So I went straight to the 100 miles and trying to figure out how to train for that was, and it was a learning experience for sure.
So 100 miles, you went from 26.2 to 100. Tell us about that kind of day of that race, getting prepared for it, and all your feelings at the time. Yeah,
the obvious and sometimes overlooked is the sacrifices that family makes in spending 3 to 4 hours away running. Planning out your week of when you can get in your long runs. And then day of, you are planned where the course is open for 30 hours, and you hope that it's going to be less than that, but you plan for the worst. And my wife and kids crewed for me. My parents came up, and then I had 2 dear friends, Matt being one of them, who paced me the last half of the race. And so anyways, it was just an incredible experience, and seeing what you can what an individual can do, and just unexpected. I met a gentleman at the race start, had really not met before, and he and I spent the first 75 miles running together. So Lance and I got to know each other pretty well over that time, and he's become a dear friend.
How many people ran that race with you that day?
11 started. I think 11 registered, 10 started, and 6 finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to, why we're really here. We're here to talk about the Leadville 100 that you completed last year. I did some digging and some Googling, and what does 100 miles actually look like? Well, 100 miles is the distance from New York City to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or London to Paris, or Los Angeles to San Diego. When you think of it in those terms, it's like, oh, wow, that's a long ways. And you decided to do it again. Talk to us about the journey of trying to take it to the next step and doing this race again.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't planned. In that it was a simple getting together of some running friends that I had ran with in college. And we chose to go to Austin, Texas. It was like the easiest place for all of us to get to. And there was a race that happened to be associated with the Leadville race series. Lifetime Fitness owns the race series. And if you won your age group, or if you won a raffle, then you had automatic entry into the Leadville 100. So I was fortunate to have a good race day. I won my age group. And then one of the friends I ran with won the raffle. So when you get a chance to register for an event like Leadville, it's hard to turn it down. I have called it kind of the Boston Marathon equivalent of ultra racing.
Gotcha.
So when you get a chance to do that, it was important to take it.
Let's talk to our listeners a little bit about that, because a lot of people might not know about the Leadville 100, where it is, kind of what it stands for. Talk to our listeners about that.
Yeah, Leadville is in Colorado. It's one of, if not the highest incorporated towns in the United States. For those in South Dakota, it's about the size of Canton. And it is surrounded by 14,000-foot peaks. And it's a mining area. And in this year's race was the 40th year. And in 1982, the largest employer closed. And Leadville became the highest unemployment rate in the nation. So a number of the townspeople kind of were deciding what should we do. And Ken Klober and Marilee Malpin, who are the 2 race founders, as part of that committee, evaluated different items, and they came up with a 100-mile run. And it was as simple as if somebody was to come here to run 100 miles, they'd have to stay overnight. So they would, end up being bringing people to the community. So that's the simple, and it's grown into a number of races throughout the year. Again, now Lifetime Fitness has it, and there's other races that are associated. So it occurs the third weekend, the third Saturday in August. So it's usually a pretty time of the year to be out in the mountain.
The mountains of Colorado, quite a bit different than the plains in Larchwood.
Yeah. Well, yes. The elevation, the elevation and the vertical were the two things that you just clearly can't compare. You can't prepare for here. But we do have a local ski area. So, Great Bear ended up being my training ground of choice, and lots of repeats up the hills there to try to simulate the elevation, the vertical, which cannot truly be simulated unless you're in a place like that.
So let's kind of switch gears. We've been talking about numbers, 26.2. We did a qualifier race to get to Leadville, and now we're at 100. Let's switch to the internal kind of commitment and mindset. You've touched on it a little bit, the first 100-mile race that you did, and the family commitment it takes. How did the family respond this time to that commitment and you spending time training and being away from the group?
Yeah, it was not as enthusiastic as the first time, just knowing, the time commitment. But I spent a lot of early mornings running and really adjusted my schedule to when, it made sense for me. So in some cases, I traded sleep for running, which is training in itself because you really don't have time to sleep during an ultra. You just have to keep going. So as much as, training for, the running, physical wise, just mentally, that was an unintended, intended benefit too. The other just mindset change is you have to realize you go into it to say, okay, I'm just going to be moving for the next 25 to 30 hours, and that's how you have to do. You have to move and eat, and you kind of block out your phone, you block out work, although I'm pretty introverted, so I do a lot of thinking while I'm running. But it's just kind of you and, listening to your body. And that's probably the biggest thing that I learned from the first ultra to Leadville, is that you can really feel your body changing. Like I had a cramping situation before halfway, and I just knew I needed salts, or I knew I needed to try icy hot, as I've shared with others. And then having the support of your crew. So I ran pretty much every step of Leadville with the friend that qualified with me, which is just unfathomable to think that we spent 28 hours together, running side by side. And then I had two dear high school friends that were crewing for me. And then another one showed up at 11 o'clock at night to hike 8 hours through the night, because that's all we could do at that point. So when you know that you've got people that are relying on you or that are rooting for you, it just makes it that much easier.
I want to tug on that a little bit more. A couple of things that you said in that last answer. One is that kind of mental toughness. I work out enough to know that they say your mind quits before your body quits. I don't know if that's quite true in a 100-mile race. I think my body would want to quit too. But talk about how you had to overcome your mind wanting to quit to keep your body moving.
I think back to one of the later aid stations, and we entered it. It's the dark of night, and there is a gentleman that can't hardly walk anymore. And he ended up not being able to finish the race. And it was at that point where, you realize that, wow, your body can just fail you and you have zero control over it. So it's as much as, I think as much as listening to your body, having your wits about you to keep eating even when you don't want to. You don't want to have that other goo packet because you're sick of the 20 that you've had prior. And you're in some ways in survival mode. There was an important kind of crossroads in the race where Ryan and I got separated, the gentleman that I was running with, and it was I going to wait for him or was I going to go? And I didn't want to finish the race and know that he was 10 minutes behind me, and we spent 14 hours apart. So I waited for him, and that was the difference maker, running together through the night, having the team, having somebody that you can pick up their spirits, that they can pick up yours, it can't be replaced.
That's kind of the other theme I wanted to touch on was this team aspect. You had quite a great team. They're locally supporting you a lot, from afar supporting you. Tell me how that helped you either train, finish the race, or get you through.
Yeah, so leading up to the day that I left on Thursday, I started getting these text messages. And I was like, I don't know this person. And then immediately I was like, oh, Vance Thompson work family is sending me well wishes. And they were countless of people that were reaching out, wishing me well, rooting for me. On race day, I could feel my phone buzz because I had it with me, or at least when there was service. And that just uplifting was also just unexpected as well. So it was humbling to know that people were taking time to think, about me especially. And then that put even more, I wouldn't say pressure, but more responsibility that I was going to finish the race.
Oh, awesome. We are at Vance Thompson Vision, as we kind of alluded to, we are more than just a place that helps people see clearly. We are about team and caring for one another. So it does not surprise me that you had a whole entire army back here rooting for you. Kind of switching gears, I know people, at least I was, dying to know some just logistics, what do you eat during over 24-hour race?
Yeah, I went to a nutritionist a number of years ago, leading up to the first 100 mile that I did, and the rule of thumb that individual gave me is 90 carbs an hour. Don't worry so much about calories, but 90 carbs. So a large banana is 30 carbs, and then you can look at the packet to see okay, how many carbs is in a good packet. So that was the kind of rule, and just making sure that you had that food on you. There was checkpoints about every 10 to 12 miles, and just again making sure that you were eating even when you didn't want to. So the variety, bananas. I was not a banana eater until I started to do the few ultras that I have, and they're just that's the go-to. Later in the race, the thing that tasted the best was instant mashed potatoes mixed with chicken broth. So the salty goodness and the instant mashed was great. And then, anything else in between. They have fruit, they have watermelon, just anything that is, almost kind of wakes you up. Yeah. And then making sure that you're not overdoing the caffeine energy gels because you can get a little bit wired.
So you are a leader at Vance Thompson Vision. You have a team of accountants and business office staff. What kind of principles that have you taken from your running and your commitment and the team kind of effort that it took for you to finish the race? What have you learned from that and applied it in your kind of day-to-day leadership style with your team?
Yeah, I think the thing that I've been good at, and I think that I've gotten better at, is finishing. And that, you start something, and even if it doesn't go to the timeline that you had hoped, that you finish it. And having the discipline to figure out whatever reason is that you're, not progressing as you would like, and then keep going. So that's probably the I don't know if I'd quite call it relentlessness, but it's the, just having the discipline to keep going, even when, you've had some setbacks. And
I'm sure you've taken those same principles, not only with your team at Vance Thompson Vision, but, your kids as a father and as a husband. Have you seen them at play with your immediate family? Yeah, for sure.
The kids, stating the obvious, watch you as parents, and they may think I'm crazy at times But just talking through mentally, what it's like to go through something that isn't that's not easy, and to also embrace it. Like, not everybody has the privilege, or not everybody has, physically can do something like a 100-mile race, for example. And even though it might hurt, like you have to honor the race. And so I think that's what I've left with Eloise and Everett, and that they are, that they're knowing that working hard isn't always fun, but it's important to do.
So I'm not a runner. You know that. I don't have any aspirations of doing a 26.2 mile marathon or anything beyond that. But, if I'm starting out either wanting to run or like do that, what seems impossible, what advice would you give to someone that's just looking for that extra push, that extra motivation, that extra courage to step out of their comfort zone and try something that they've never done before?
Yeah. Join a runner's group. I have been a solitary runner off and on my life, and I've gotten into a runner's group, and just the accountability that puts on you, the learning that you take from your fellow runners, and then setting a goal and sharing that goal so people can help you when you may not be in the right mindset to achieve it, that they can help lift you up. So that would be the number one thing I would say. Find a runner's group.
Nice. So what's next? After like 100-miler, what's next? Is there a longer race in your picture or in your future, or what's on the horizon for Mark Scharnberg?
Yeah, not that my ultra days are over, but I've my goals for this year. Let's start this year.
Yeah.
Is I'm running the Boston Marathon in about a month. So I'm in the middle of training for that. I'm excited to do it again. I did it once before, and it was not one of my better races. So I'm looking forward to showing Boston a better Mark Scharnberg than the last one they saw. And then this fall, I've been invited to be a part of the 437 project.
Oh, fun.
So if people are not familiar with it, helplinecenter.org is a local organization that brings awareness to suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. And the 437 Project, feel free to go to the website. And it's to raise awareness, and it runs from the Wyoming border across South Dakota to the Iowa border.
Yay, that sounds fun. Well, we can be all serious here, so let's have a little fun. We like to call it a game of this or that, and we're going to make it running style. So this or that, Hokas or Nikes for running?
Hokas.
Really?
Well, caveated, Hokas, trail shoes, Nikes, racers for marathons.
Nice, okay. Water or Gatorade during a race?
Both.
Okay. Ice or icy hot for post-race recovery?
Ooh, ice.
Okay.
Yep.
Beer or bourbon for more post-race recovery?
Yes. Beer first, and then bourbon with the steak that you have later on.
Nice. Well, we can't stop this interview without, the Leadville 100 is notorious for your prize at the end. What did you win after completing the race?
Yeah, so I've had showing the belt buckle, under 30 hours, the race across the sky. So my initial goal was to try to be under 25 hours, because then you get a larger belt buckle. But as a friend shared, that I was able to get the more wearable belt buckle. And that's kind of the shtick of most ultra races, that you have a belt buckle awarded.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time today, Mark. Thank you. And thank you, audience, for tuning in today to our Beyond Vision podcast. We look forward to seeing you back here in future episodes. And thanks again, Mark.
Thank you.